All right. Um, let's have a recap of what we did from our last class. Then we proceed. Please, I want total silence. I want total silence. There's E. There's O after the E. Biogeochemical cycle. All right. Um, I want to. Please, we are going to end this lecture by 12. So, um, so I want us to be snappy. I want us to be snappy. And if you disturb, I will walk you out of my class. Like, walk out of my class. All right. So, what was the last thing that we did in the class? Let's have a recap. Yes. You want to read now? Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Okay. So I think we did germinations in seed, germinations of seed, and conditions necessary for seed germination. Then we treated nervous system. Okay, yeah. We also did mechanisms of transfer of impulses, talking about sex organs, skins, the nose, and the rest. Then we talked about hormones, hormone controls, and the gland that is responsible in producing hormones. Of course, we mentioned pituitary gland, adrenal gland, is that also thyroid gland, and many other glands, and the hormones that they produce. So, without wasting too much time, we shall look at we start from this topic, homeostasis. Please, what is this? Who have we just seen this word for the first time? Nobody. All right. Let's flow. Let's flow. So, what is homeostasis? Yes. Anybody? Try. Yes.
Maintaining of a fairly internal temperature of the body. Yes.
That is good. That is good. Yes. Any other person? If you are eating, just stop. Any other person?
Let me just say something.
Okay.
Homeostasis is a process by which the body maintains the normal processes or condition by self-regulating adjustment.
That is good. So the body have the tendency of adjusting himself so as to suit the present conditions of the body. The body have the tendency of regulating himself, especially temperature and also salt and water balances in the body. So the body have the ability to do this, carry out these processes, maintaining the internal levels of the body in terms of temperature, also the salt or solvent in the blood. So the regulations of this internal environment, either by temperature, or either regulating temperature or 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 salts and solute in the body, is homeostasis. Without wasting too much time, let's look at distributions of organisms in an environment. Distributions of organisms in an environment. Um, in distributions of organisms in an environment, we shall make emphasis on biotic factors and abiotic factors. Of, see, stop. Stop operating your phones. You are distracting me. So, biotics and what abiotic factors. So, what are biotic factors?
Living components.
Living. All right. Biotic factors are known to be the producers, the consumers, and what? The composers. So, who are the producers? Plants. So, who are the consumers? Hmm? Animals, right? The composers, who are the decomposers? Microorganisms. Exactly. Okay. So, um, the pyramid, ecological pyramid. Hello, are we together, class? The ecological pyramid. This is ecological pyramid of numbers, and then this is ecological pyramid of biomass. That is ecological pyramid of weight. So it talks about the numbers of organisms or the biotic organisms in an ecosystem. That is the numbers of producers, consumers, and decomposers in what an ecosystem. For what is here, biomass of ecological pyramid of numbers talks about the numbers of species, numbers of producers, which is grass, 40. Then the consumer, primary consumer, grasshopper, secondary consumer, 5, and then hawk as what? Tertiary as 2. So here it talks about ecological pyramid of weight. Talk about ecological pyramid of weight. That is the numbers of organisms. I mean the weight of organisms in a particular ecosystem. So just trying to rush. So let's look at biogeochemical cycle. What is biogeochemical cycle? Who have heard of this word before? All right. Biogeochemical cycle it has to do with the transfer of energy or nutrients between biotic factors and abiotic factors. That is the transfer of energy between biotic factors and abiotic factors. Between between the producers, consumers, decomposers, with temperature, the interactions between these two. Okay, talks about biogeochemical cycle. And this biogeochemical cycle are of two types. What are the types of biogeochemical cycle? All right, we have gaseous biogeochemical cycle and sedimentary biogeochemical cycle. Gaseous and sedimentary. Examples of gaseous biogeochemical cycle, we have the carbon cycle, nitrogen cycle, water cycle. Okay. Then the sedimentary cycle is sulfur cycle, phosphorus cycle. Are we together? Now, our emphasis is going to be on carbon cycle, nitrogen cycle, and water cycle. I believe this particular topic is familiar to you, right? Ah, we're just seeing this one for the first time now. Nitrogen cycle. Is anyone that is just hearing the word for the first time? Nobody now. You see? It's a familiar topic. So let's start with carbon cycle. Carbon cycle has to do with the interrelationship between biotic factors and abiotic factors that I've earlier stated. This on the board demonstrate what? Carbon cycle. This on the board demonstrates carbon cycle. From here, animals and plants happens to be what? Biotic factors, right? Very good. Biotic organisms. Because, and also this about 12 is stand up. Stand up. Now, the carbon cycle explains what happens when animal and plant die, and the end product of everything, what it brings at the end of the day. Now, from what is here, the animal and plant happens to be what? Biotic organisms. Normally, once living organisms die, they leave their nutrients in to the soil. Is that also? The nutrients are the macronutrients or the micronutrients. That is carbon, magnesium, name it, in the soil. Now, of course, once animal or plant dies, they decompose. They undergoes a process called decompositions. Is that also? Whereby living organisms like microorganisms work on these dead animals or plants. Are we together? Now, once they decomposes, now they undergoes a process called falsifications. Falsifications happens when living organisms like plant or animal dies for a long period of time, like the petroleum that we know are mostly dead and decays organic matter for a long period of time. So once organic matter dies for a long period of time, they undergo falsifications to form what is known as what? Fossil fuel. Are we together? To form fossil fuel. And this fossil fuel is used to produce what? To use to produce oil, or to get oil, coal, gas, and many others. Diesels that you can name. Now, once this fuel undergoes combustion, this combustion, that is, there are many equipment that can actually make use of this, either automobile or machines, or industries make use of sophisticated machines. Then these gases burns. As they burns, they undergoes combustions and then goes into the atmosphere as carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Are we together? Now, the carbon dioxide goes back into ocean to form what is known as what? Limestone. So these issues, I mean these carbon cycles keep happening day to day, day to day. All right. Now another cycle or gaseous cycle is what? Nitrogen cycle. Nitrogen cycle. Nitrogen cycle, there are different processes of nitrogen cycle. What are the processes of nitrogen cycle? All right. We have, yes, nitrogen fixation, nitrification, yes, denitrification. What else again? Huh? Ammonification. All right. We have decay. We have decay. I don't know. These are the four major types of nitrogen cycle. Okay. So these processes explains how nitrogen can be fixed in the soil. Nitrogen is fixed in the soil by nitrogen fixation process, can be fixed in the soil by nitrifications, fixed in the soil by denitrifications, or decay, that is bio factors, that is organisms. Are we together? Now, nitrogen fixation. Who can tell me how nitrogen fixation is done? Can anybody make any attempt? I assume this topic is familiar topic. So I want us to flow.
Nitrogen fixation is the process by which nitrogen is fixed into the root nodules of plants, usually legumes, but through nitrogen fixing bacteria.
Mm, by
Known as
nitrogen fixing bacteria. Okay, that one has to do with decay, or bios. Do you understand? All right. Now, what is the highest gas in the atmosphere?
nitrogen.
Nitrogen. How many percent do nitrogen have in the atmosphere? Oxygen is how many? Huh? Carbon how many? Huh?
Alpha, loud your voice now. Why this bedroom voice? Is that 0.83? But
All right. Now, nitrogen fixation is done or is carried out with the aid of what? Lightning. Are we together? It's done with the aid of what? Lightning. During rainfall, the lightning splits the nitrogens in the atmosphere into nitrous oxide. Now, once it breaks these nitrogens, split it comes down with the water and then comes down to the soil as nitrate. Are we together? Now, the nitrification here. Okay, who can explain the nitrification? Nitrification. Anybody? Anybody? Nitrification. You say? Oh, I even forgot to mention something. The nitrogen fixation actually is done by three processes. The first one I mentioned is atmospheric fixation by lightning. The second one is industrial fixation. And the last is biological fixation. That is the process where nitrogen fixation is done. One is atmospheric, which is by lightning. Okay. The second is what? Industrial. And then the third is biological. Now, the industrial fixation has to do with, I mean, this very one happens industrially, where heat about 600 degrees Celsius, 600 degrees Celsius is acted upon hydrogens and nitrogens and hydrogens so as to produce ammonia at the end of the day. That is, industrially, nitrogens is reacted with hydrogens in this temperature to produce ammonia. Are we together? It has to do with fixing nitrogen to the soil by microorganisms. And one of the organisms that can fix nitrogen to the soil is nitrosomonas, nitrobacter. Okay, so these organisms have the tendency of fixing nitrogen to the soil. That is for why that is for biological. Then, so nitrification here has to do with the conversions of nitrite into nitrate. Okay, has to do with the conversions of nitrite into nitrate. See, with the aid of microorganisms as well. There is a name of organisms called comamos. These organisms have the ability to convert nitrite into nitrate and still the same ability to convert nitrate into nitrite. Are we together? Now, another is denitrifications. Denitrifications. Who can tell me the process of denitrifications? Denitrifications here has to do with the reductions of nitrates and nitrites into nitrogen gas. Okay, reductions of nitrate and nitrite into nitrogen gas. Now, once that happens, three three products are gotten: nitric acid, azide, I said denitrification involves conversion of nitrate to nitrate plus nitrite to give rise to nitrogen gas. So, nitrate plus nitrite is reduced into nitrogens for the nitrifications. Now, once that happens, the end product that is given is nitric acid, nitrous oxide, and nitrous acid. So these three are gotten as a result of what? Denitrifications. Why decay? Has to do with fissing. Microorganisms have the tendency of fissing nitrogen to the soil. Especially there is plant like legumes. Plants like legumes have their root is modified into nodulated roots. Are we together? Their root is modified into what? Nodulated roots. Now, the nodulated root contains, have a nitrogen fixing bacteria that have the tendency of fixing nitrogen to the soil. Are we together? So, um, on your own, draw water cycle. Draw water cycle. Please, I want us to go speedily because our time has been reduced. Instead of 1:30, instead of 1 hour 30 minutes, it has been reduced to 1 hour. So you have to hit up. Now let's look at habitat, natural habitat. All right, I think I've asked you guys the definitions of habitat, right? So what are the types of habitat? What are the types of habitat? Aquatic and very. These are the two major types of habitat. Are we together? So, aquatic habitat. What is aquatic habitat? Who asked you to sit down? What was it? Was it not you? So why did you sit down? Go out. Walk out of the class. Carry a book and walk out. Now, so, what are the types of aquatic habitat class? Eh? I'm hearing fish. Marine and marine is also called what? Salt water, right? That is correct. The marine habitat is characterized by having many ecological zones. That is, we have the pelagic zones, we have the epipelagic zones, we have mesopelagic zones, we have the abyssopelagic zones, we have the benthic zones. Are we together? It talks about the zones of marine habitat. Are we together, class? The zones of marine habitat describe or talks about the depths, okay? The depths of what? Marine habitat. And also the penetrations of light and penetrations of oxygens, the rate of penetrations of light and penetrations of oxygens in this habitat. Okay, the first one I mentioned, what? Pelagic zones, right? The second one is what? The second zone is what? Epipelagic. Yes. The third one is what?
Benthic.
Yes. And now, at the pelagic zones and the epipelagic zones, even at the mesopelagic zones, there are distributions of organisms at this region. Are we together? There are distributions of organisms, various organisms, even plant growing at these pelagic zones, because at this point, there is some level of oxygens at the point. Are we together? There is a levels of oxygens, and also there are levels of what light penetrations at the point. The pelagic zones, epipelagic zones, and mesopelagic zones. Now, at the abyssopelagic zones, here there is no light penetrations. Are we together? That is in marine habitat. This place is usually very, very dark. The same thing with the benthic zones. The benthic zones is known as the ground floor of ocean. Are we together? What you only find there is mostly anaerobic organisms, organisms that can survive in the absence of oxygen. Are we together? But what you find around this point are aerobic organisms. Of course, we also have freshwater. Is that also freshwater habitat? What? Okay. Why is it called freshwater habitat?
Um, Very low or little, low or little salt, salt content.
This is not complete.
Expiring.
Uh-huh. Estuarine is also called what?
Brackish.
Brackish. You know that, right? Okay. So freshwater. Why is it called freshwater? Is it because the water is fresh?
Does not contain salt.
Yes. Not contain salt. Is that not so? What are the types of freshwater habitat? Yeah, freshwater have types. Eh? You say? Uh-huh. Thank you. You are looking in from somewhere. All right. Now, what is the difference between these two? Yes? Lotic.
One is more shallow than the other.
No? Eh? Very good. Lentic are what? And then
Free flowing.
running. Are we together? What are the examples of lotic water?
Rivers.
Eh?
Stream.
Okay, you say river, right?
Yes, sir. Stream.
Yes.
Spring.
No, you can't. Okay. Spring, yes, spring. Yes. Okay. What about the lentic, the stagnant? Yes. Damp. Yes. One.
Sir. It's a lagoon lake floating.
Lagoon. Lagoon is a stagnant. Eh? Yes. Pond. Okay, I didn't mention pond. All right. So fresh water can either be lotic, running water, or stagnant water. Are we together? And the examples of this running water are this, and this the river, this stream, spring, the stagnant water, the lake, dam, swamp, lagoons, ponds. Are we together? What else again? Um. Now let's look at terrestrial habitat. Why is it called terrestrial habitat? Eh?
Due to the solid parts, how do I put it?
Okay, let's say they ask you for WAEC now.
Exactly.
What is terrestrial habitat? No, let's assume you are answering the question now. So be careful. You're answering the question, Abi. So be careful, so that your answer will not look like a market women answer, and then we mark you in market women way or market man way. So yes, you were saying something that are found on land, side on land. Eh?
So those are terrestrial buildings, terrestrial habitat,
All right. What are the types of terrestrial habitat, class? Yes, terrestrial habitat have types.
savannah, savannah.
I hope you know the difference between stream, river, and stream, river and stream. I hope you know their differences. Most of you call your one water your backyard river. I want to go and swim in the river. All right. So types of terrestrial habitat. You say one we have what? Yes. Forest. Correct. Eh? Yes. Marsh. What else? Arid land. Thank you. Arid land. Or very good. Very good. What are the types of savanna? Okay, wait. Why is it called savanna? Uh-uh. All right. It's called savanna because the vegetations at this habitat are mostly dominated by short shrubs and grasses, and they are scattered without forming canopies. Are we together? Unlike forests that trees come in clusters, thereby forming canopies. Savanna, they are scattered all over. Are we together? You found plants there, you found animals there in savanna. All right. What are the types of savanna? All right. Forest and types of forest. You say what? Tropical. Yes. Eh? These are the two major types of forests. Mangrove. Mangrove should fall under marsh because okay, mangrove can still be found there. Yeah, I will tell you why. I will tell you why. Now, why is it called tropical forest? Tropical rainforest? Eh? Because the trees are tropical. Are long. Okay, I think here. The difference there is just temperature. Okay, difference in temperature. Yeah, the temperature here is the temperature here is very very low at the tropical forest. Are we together? And there's usually most rainfalls usually occurs around this point, and it has high level of humidity in the atmosphere. I hope you know what is humidity. Humidity is different from humility. You know that, right? All right. So temperate forest, of course, is temperate forest is characterized with the presence of what a little bit elevated temperature, and of course with scarcity rainfall and fuse, and also scarcity of what rainfall. That is to say, it rains, but the level of rainfall in temperate forest is not the same thing as the level of rainfall in tropical forest. Now, mangrove. What about mangrove? Mangrove as a terrestrial habitat are mostly dominated or are mostly characterized by plants called mangrove plants. Mangrove plant. Now, mangrove plants have roots. The name of the root that mangrove plant have is called nomatophore. They have a breathing root. Do you understand? Now, the root goes to the ground and then comes out into the atmosphere, thereby collecting gases from the atmosphere. That is, they use their roots for gaseous exchange, unlike normal plant that uses leaves. Now, what about marsh? Why is it called marsh? Eh? Why is it called marsh? Anybody? All right. Yeah, marsh as a terrestrial habitat is organisms or plants in marsh is actually dominated by short trees, and of course the water level or the ground is usually muddy. Do you understand? Usually muddy. You can still find mangrove here. Do you understand? You can find red mangrove or white mangrove still here. Do you follow, class? What about arid lands or desert? I hope you know that arid land have types. Yes? What are the types of arid land? Na lie. What do we have here? Hot desert and what? Frozen desert. Are we together? Hot and frozen. These are the two types of what? Deserts. Now, these deserts are characterized are characterized the presence of no rain, that is little or no rainfall at all. Okay, even the organism that is found, of course you can find baobab trees, you can even find cactus plants. Yes, even in a desert. Okay, their leaves, their roots are modified for them to be able to survive in dried or drought environment. Are we together? The same way as animals can also be found here. Animals. Now, the reason why it's called frozen is the types of deserts where the whole land is freeze. Like you have watched American movies, right? Where you see a large land, no soil, everywhere. Just the ground will be frozen, like turn to ice. Eh? That is called frozen what? Deserts. Are we together? That is called frozen desert. So, okay. Any question?
Now, what does biomass mean?
Biomass means the numbers of organisms, okay? The total numbers of living organisms in an ecosystem, okay? It's one of the characteristics or the terminologies that is used in ecology. Biomass. Biomass from the word bio means life, is that not so? So life, the total numbers of producers, consumers, decomposers in an environment. All right. Any other question? So please try and know the types of habitats, the types of aquatic habitat, terrestrial habitat. These ones, all these things that I've stated. Types of the savanna and all that. Even the types of arid land. Try and know it. Yes, I didn't even talk about estuarine. Class, do you know why it's called estuarine habitat or brackish habitat? Oh, okay. Is an habitat or is a habitat that comprises both fresh water and salt water. Do you understand? Both fresh water and salt water. Normally, oceans or sea level undergoes what you know as tide. Tide is one of the characteristics of ocean. You know that, right? I would do. I just left some things. If not, I would have treated characteristics of fresh water, even characteristics of marine water. Okay, but you know this one now. Characteristics of marine water, you know it, right? High salinity, high depth, the land, large land size, I mean the mass. Uh, which one again? Tides, okay, wind, and velocity. In fact, many others. Okay, the same thing as that of the same thing with freshwater habitat. Freshwater habitat is characterized by low salty water, low salinity rather. Okay, low salinity, and the depth is not as that of the that of the marine habitat. You have many if you need it, let me know. I will give you later to snap. And the estuarine habitat. Now, tide. What is tide?
The water level that's rising or falling of
Thank
water level.
you. Due to gravitational force of the earth, it usually happens twice in a day. The rising and falling of ocean body due to gravitational force. Once it rises and falls, it splashes, okay, into into the shore or the banks of oceans. Are we together? Then once rain falls, rain now is this fresh water. It falls on it, thereby turning to what? Brackish water. Combinations of both what? Fresh salt water and um marine water. Are we together? So that explains the estuarine habitat. Combinations of these two. Though the depth of estuarine habitat is nothing compared to the ocean and also the marine habitat and freshwater. It's usually very, very shallow. Are we together? Usually very, very shallow. Even the characteristics, yes, I forgot the characteristics of the characteristics of the lentic habitat. Okay, is characterized by high um turbidity. Okay, characterized by high turbidity. You know what is turbidity, right? Okay, that is to say that in stagnant water have lot of debris. Okay, let's take for example lake. For example, if you have been to Jabi Lake before, Jabi Lake is a lentic freshwater, right? Very good. If you have been to Jabi Lake before, the water doesn't flow. It's just there, stagnant. Eh? So the inability of, the ability of you to view through the water body down is turbidity. Okay, so if it has low turbidity, it means that you can able to view through. But if you have high turbidity, it means there are a lot of debris clusters, in the water that makes it impossible for you to view. It means that water have high turbidity. That is what it means. But mostly, lotic water have low turbidity, you can actually view. If you stand in river or stream, you can actually see fish moving. You can see. But in lentic, it will be difficult. What you'll be seeing is dirt and spirogera. I hope you know the difference between spirogera and most plants. All right, you are free to go. Any question? All right.